Tropical Storm Melissa is about to rapidly intensify and could become a powerful Category 4 hurricane as it nears Jamaica. And here's the terrifying part. Forecasts show up to 2 feet of rain, destructive winds, and dangerous storm surge as Melissa may stall near the island for several days before making a direct hit early next week. This storm just got even worse, and I'm going to show you the latest track, intensity forecast, and the new information showing just how bad this could get. But first, make sure you hit that like button, share this very important update, and subscribe for more tropical weather updates. Here's a current look at Tropical Storm Melissa on satellite imagery, and you can see it is getting more organized. It's about to enter that rapid intensification phase, most likely. We have more convection around the center, and this is gonna start really intensifying the storm system. Maximum sustained winds in the latest advisory are up to 60 miles an hour. Pressure is down to 997 millibars, but it's moving east-southeast at 2 miles per hour. It's not moving northwest, so this is really meandering around the Caribbean. It's basically in the same place that it's been for like 2 days. This is really important going forward. Here's a look at the forecast cone from the National Hurricane Center. We have those winds at 60 miles an hour, and those winds are expected to go up as we go through tonight into Saturday. They're showing by 8 p.m. Saturday, we could be looking at a hurricane from Melissa, but I think that this could actually happen sooner since we're already seeing that increase in wind speed. Then we're going to see a major hurricane by the time we get into later on Sunday, according to the latest forecast. And depending on how rapidly it intensifies, that could happen a bit sooner. We'll have to see what happens. Now, the interesting thing is that it's staying south of Jamaica, which could be a good thing in one way, but the thing is, this is going to be bringing in a pretty long period of very strong winds, heavy rain. Really, the flooding is going to be the biggest issue with all that heavy rain, but then after that, we're going to get those super strong winds coming in. By the time we get into Tuesday, it's going to make a direct hit on Jamaica, and pretty much all the forecast models are really pointing to that scenario, either a direct hit on Jamaica or the center of Melissa goes just to the west, which in either case, it's going to be bringing those very strong winds, possibly 150 miles an hour over Jamaica, going to lead to significant damage. And then after it goes over Jamaica, then it's still going to be a major hurricane moving into Cuba by the time we get to Wednesday, but this is actually slowed down a bit because before it was looking at like maybe Monday would be when it would hit Jamaica. Now it's looking like Tuesday, so that's even worse in terms of it's potentially slowing down even further, and that's going to lead to more rain and a longer period of destructive winds depending on how close it gets. And here's the key messages for Tropical Storm Melissa we have for Jamaica. The biggest impacts are expected to happen in Jamaica. Due to Melissa's slow motion, the risk of a prolonged multi-day period of potentially damaging winds, heavy rainfall resulting in life-threatening flash flooding, and numerous mudslides and storm surge continues to increase for Jamaica. Preparations to protect life and property should be rushed to completion since strong winds and flooding rains could begin in Jamaica on Saturday or Sunday. And then Haiti, also looking at a lot of flooding. Heavy rainfall will result in catastrophic flash flooding and landslides in southwestern Haiti into early next week. They're expecting extensive damage to roads and buildings and potentially isolating communities for an extended period of time. That is a really bad message to have for your location. They're saying this is a life-threatening situation and immediate preparations to protect life and property should be taken. Strong winds could also potentially last for at least a day over parts of Haiti. And then also eastern Cuba and also the rest of Hispaniola is looking at heavy rain with flooding. And also, interest in Cuba should be monitoring the progress of Melissa since the risk of heavy rainfall, damaging winds, and storm surge is also increasing there. Now, here's a look at the HAFS-A hurricane model, just showing what this storm could look like over the next few days. We're seeing it starts to get more organized as we go through tonight into Saturday. By the time we get to tomorrow evening, we're looking at the very strong winds starting to move into Jamaica potentially, and also that heavy rain. And then notice this is the central dense overcast, the main part where most of the wind is going to be, most of the heaviest rain is going to be happening continuously over Jamaica. The entire island seeing this going all the way from Saturday evening, Saturday night, through Sunday, through Monday, and it just stalls there. This is pretty much a worst case scenario, and then it makes a direct landfall right over Jamaica early on Tuesday morning, and then still a lot of that very strong winds and heavy rain continues, and then it looks like the storm could even get a little bit bigger over time before it hits Cuba on Tuesday. They're showing Tuesday afternoon for the HAFS-A model. The NHC is thinking maybe that could happen even slower, maybe on Wednesday, and then that continues off into the southeastern Bahamas, so a lot of locations downstream should be watching this. Now, the intensity is going to be a really big thing. The intensity guidance is showing rapid intensification. We're looking at this reaching hurricane intensity in just a few hours, perhaps around 12 hours or less. And then we're looking at a major hurricane within 36 hours, and then also reaching Category 4 intensity shortly after that in less than 48 hours. And that could continue for several days if it's able to maintain its intensity. Now, with rapid intensification, if it goes up perhaps even to a Cat 5, it could come down after that just because of the structure of the storm. Really rapidly intensifies and then it kind of levels off. That is possible. We'll have to see. But this is going over probably the most favorable point in the Atlantic, in the Caribbean, for rapid intensification. Here's a look at the sea surface temperature. We're looking at 30 degrees Celsius or even a little bit higher, basically the upper 80s, probably 86 to 87 degrees Fahrenheit across where Melissa is going in the Caribbean. So that's favorable for rapid intensification, but it's not just the sea surface temperatures. We're looking at a lot of upper ocean heat content, a lot of tropical cyclone heat potential for intensification. So even if it's moving slowly, usually you would get upwelling and that would start weakening the storm down, but that's less likely in this scenario because we have so much warm water that extends down well below the surface. The highest heat potential in the entire Atlantic is right here where Melissa is. So that's a really bad thing to see. That's why this is pretty much a worst case scenario, especially if it does end up making a direct hit on Jamaica. Like, it could go further west. That cone, if we go back to the cone, you can see there's quite a bit of track uncertainty, but the forecast models, a lot of them are really indicating it getting very close to Jamaica for an extended period of time before making a direct landfall as a very powerful hurricane. This is the HAFS-A model, just showing your rapid intensification takes off. We're looking at almost a major hurricane by the time we get into tomorrow afternoon, and then those tropical storm force winds start moving into Jamaica. So not extreme winds yet by the time we get into Saturday evening. Then those winds continue, and we see winds at least 50 to 60 miles an hour. Fortunately, in this scenario, we're not looking at hurricane force winds for an extended period of time, but even tropical storm force winds plus all that rain and flooding is going to be really catastrophic. And here's what happens with those winds. They do continue as the storm expands. We're looking at winds of possibly 60 to 75 miles an hour, approaching that hurricane force winds by the time we get into Monday afternoon. Before this is when things get really bad. We have a 906 millibar Category 4 hurricane, which is a very low minimum pressure to have at Category 4 intensity. So either the model's kind of off with the pressure, or the winds could be a little bit stronger than what they're showing. And also, this is an expanding storm system, so this is going to be something to watch. But this is going into Monday night. We start seeing very high winds moving into Jamaica, and pretty much the entire island is going to see this, at least in gusts. You would think some of the mountains could block the winds, but I think there's also going to be wind funneling and higher wind gusts in some of the mountainous areas. But along the coast, a ton of destructive wind gusts, destructive sustained winds, and a lot of storm surge is going to be a big issue. And then this continues on Tuesday morning, and then it continues moving. We see still tropical storm force winds happening in Jamaica, even on Tuesday afternoon, before it finally pulls away and actually hits eastern Cuba, bringing a lot of potential damage there. Then it moves off into the southeastern Bahamas and then out to sea from there. Now, it's not just the sustained winds. The wind gusts could be even worse. Here's a look at those potential wind gusts across Jamaica. Montego Bay seeing wind gusts of 125 miles an hour at some point during during this time frame. Kingston looking at 110-mile-an-hour gusts. But then we have some other areas along the coast could see, especially the southwestern part of Jamaica, could see those wind gusts around 165 miles an hour in some places. That's going to be really bad. If this scenario happens, this is going to be the worst case scenario, bringing a lot of catastrophic impacts. If you're in the path of this, you should be prepared, like ready, because this is a really serious thing. And then we have 152-mile-an-hour wind gusts even a little bit further inland over Mandeville, and then Ocho Rios looking at 130-mile-an-hour wind gusts. This is a really bad thing in terms of the winds. If this happens, now if it goes a little bit further west, that's going to shift the track of the highest wind gusts. So there's still some change that can happen in the forecast, but right now it's looking pretty bad. And then not just the wind, the rain is going to be the thing. If it stalls even if it's a couple hundred miles to the south or 100 miles to the south of Jamaica, the rain is going to be the big thing. And so we're looking at potentially 2 feet of rain across parts of Jamaica, especially further south, but really the entire island looking at a lot of rain. Even further north, you have over 1 foot of rain. Further south, you have close to 2 feet of rain. That's going to lead to some catastrophic flooding, especially in the mountainous areas. You have all that runoff and mudslides, and all of that is going to be pretty severe. And then even southwestern Haiti looking at 1.5 feet of rain, perhaps in some of these areas, and localized amounts could be even worse. And then even southeastern Cuba starting to get over 1 foot of rain, even with a faster forward motion as this starts moving off to the northeast by the middle of next week. Now, the track forecast is pretty consistent. Here's all the different models, like from just the regular weather models to AI models, everything. Melissa is expected to kind of go to the north a little bit through tonight, and then it turns west, and then it stays south of Jamaica. There's like an 80% chance that this scenario is correct, and then it turns a little bit, and the track right now, it's making a direct hit on the western end of Jamaica, so that would bring all the strongest winds on the northeastern side of the storm over Jamaica. And then there is the potential that it goes a little bit further west, possibly goes a little bit further east. Then the main track is taking it through southeastern Cuba and then the southeastern Bahamas as well. Most of the models take it out to sea. There's going to be sort of a ridge of high pressure that this just basically flows around that. And then we have a front going down into the southeastern US, so then it just kind of goes in between those. There is a slight chance that this shows a few models taking it towards the northeastern US or even Atlantic Canada. That is possible. We'll see about that. But here's the AI Euro model, and the model has been pretty consistent on showing this track for Hurricane Melissa. It does take it over Jamaica and then across Cuba and the Bahamas before taking it out to sea, possibly hitting Bermuda as a weaker hurricane. Some runs of this were taking it further west towards Atlantic Canada or the northeast, but there's that. But the next few days are going to be pretty serious, it looks like, for Jamaica, especially, also Haiti, the Dominican Republic, and then down the road, Cuba and the Bahamas. But Jamaica is really in the path for this pretty serious hurricane. The rapid intensification is a really bad thing, but its stalling is very concerning in terms of the extreme amount of flooding. And then if it does make a direct hit as a major hurricane, on top of all that flooding, you're going to see tremendous damage from the very strong winds as well. So yeah, so if you're in the path of this, just make sure you're prepared immediately for this. And yeah, that's pretty much what the forecast is for Melissa right now. Thanks for watching this video. If you liked it, please be sure to hit that like button if you haven't already. Share the video. Very important to share this update on Melissa. And make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications for more weather updates on the tropics. Thanks for watching. Extreme Weather Zone, out.